I see. Thanks, Sora.
Aladdin, what are you doing out here?
Same old stuff. Hunting legendary treasure. Just paid a visit to the Cave of Wonders. I found that
Aladdin, congratulations!
I'm in rush!
Patience, my fine feathered friend. Any 3 wishes! Oh, 1 wish, a 2 wish.
I'm in rush!
Hey paisanos, welcome back to the Disney World Reviews. This time we're caught in a trance, lost in a dance, and Agrabah from Aladdin, one of my personal favorite Disney movies despite its many quirks. Our story begins this time with SDG landing in a whole new world where Jafar and Maleficent are looking for Princess Jasmine, just as SDG happens to conveniently run into her while wandering into an alleyway. Jafar soon kidnaps the princess, who tells the trio to go find Aladdin in the desert. After a magic carpet ride, some heartless space shenanigans, and a very wasteful genie wish, SDG take Aladdin back to the city itself and confront Jafar in front of the palace gates. Old Al uses his second wish to free Jasmine, but the lamp is immediately G-snatched from him. Jafar then kidnaps Jasmine again and leaves our heroes to fight a mediocre boss. SDG stays one jump ahead of the Heartless and follows Jafar to the Cave of Wonders, where the keyhole of the world lies. After a series of puzzles, Sora and Aladdin catch up to Jafar, who decides to turn himself into a genie for no reason. Our heroes defeat the Red Genie menace and seal the keyhole, but alas, Jasmine is still missing, so that's a cliffhanger for the next world. Aladdin, being the nice guy he is, uses his final wish to free the genie, but still asks him to stick with Sora since he can't go save Jasmine himself, because of the World Lorder.
right. World order.
This is a pretty straightforward plot, being mostly a retelling of the original movie, but way more condensed. And the world is worse off for it. The plot moves super fast, and you don't really get to know any of the world's characters very well. Aladdin doesn't get any of his defining character moments that endear him to the audience, and Jasmine is functionally just a plot device to hunt down here, which she was in the original movie, don't get me wrong, but she still had some kind of agency and personality. It doesn't help that SDG spends most of their time here plot-wise just standing around with very little to do outside of smacking Heartless. Sora meets Maleficent proper, but outside of that, he gets nothing from this experience. Even Jafar gets hit with this. Jafar and Iago in the movie are genuinely incredibly funny and carry all of the scenes with them in it, but here they're super flat and generic. Although giving Jafar a boss and Maleficent does create an interesting change to his character, helps his thematic through line of always being second rate to someone else, the Sultan, the Genie, and now Maleficent, but also messes with his intimidation factor. The manga gives him some pretty good expressions and bits that lead him back to being funny and help him stand out a bit more. But outside of characterization, the plot remaining unchanged just creates some baffling writing decisions, like Jafar being Sultan when you first enter the world. Sora, and by proxy the player, has no reason to care that he did that, and it probably wouldn't change the plot if it wasn't mentioned. Similarly, Jafar making himself into a genie is just super weird. In the movie it's a clever moment of quick thinking on Aladdin's part, but here Jafar just does it for no reason outside of, we did a boss fight, and it's not even a very good one. But the rest of the world does make up for these failings. Agrabah is the world where the game really starts to come into its own gameplay-wise. The amount of Heartless variants you can fight increases a lot here, and you start to get way deeper into the mechanics. This is the point in the game where you will have access to all of the basic spells, Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, and Cure. And by the end of the world, you'll have a decent advanced spell in Gravity, and I feel like the amount of fun you're having does end up growing with this because the game knows you have more tools at your disposal, making fights just more interesting in general. And you're also given access to the Genie Summon. Summons are temporary party members who replace Donald and Goofy for a brief period of time. Right before this world, you would have been given access to the Simba Summon, but he is probably the worst summon in the game, so you wouldn't really have a reason to use him. Unfortunately, Genie is right behind Simba. While both summons are pretty strong, neither is worth the MP to actually summon them, and both are outclassed by the later ones. Lore-wise, the Genie summon is interesting though. There are 6 summons in total, and 4 of them are the characters being magically brought to the fight, but that doesn't happen with Genie. The way it's phrased is that he's just with SDG during the game, but just chilling off screen. Not very important, but still kinda interesting. I wonder if he's hanging out with Jiminy in the dummy ship. The world itself is built well too. The city at Agrabah is dense and large, but never confusing. It's also rad how the city opens up to the pot centipede boss breaking down its gates. The other half of the physical level is the Cave of Wonder, which is a fun puzzle dungeon and probably going to be the first real challenge the player encounters when it comes to horde battles. And aesthetically, it's pretty pleasing. desert levels can always feel pretty samey, but this actually has some diverse visual design. It also has a good set piece in the Magic Carpet ride, which doesn't overstay its welcome like the sliding and deep jungle. Too bad the world doesn't make good use out of Aladdin himself. He's functionally a worse Goofy gameplay-wise, being a physical attacker with none of the defensive benefits. His kit is built around item and money farming, but there really isn't a point to engage with that this early in the game, and there are much more lucrative methods later on. He's also mandatory to be in your party to move the plot along, so you have to deal with him. But, despite all this complaining, I still think the world is pretty good overall, and this is the benchmark when the game stops holding your hand and really lets the player grow on their own. It is brought down a little by a mediocre party member, a plot that is actively worse than just watching the movie, and easy bosses that lead to it getting lost among the more interesting worlds later on. Also, soundtrack-wise, it's probably the worst world theme outside of like Halloween Town and Atlantica, but it's still very relative, and it's a good track overall. Don't get it twisted. Yoko Shimomura can throw that shit down. Overall, I give it a score of proficient.